Ever wondered why we yawn all day, but dream of changing the world in a major way? It's the Bored and Ambitious Show.
December 24th, 2008, Christmas Eve. While most of America wrapped presents and gathered with family, Elon Musk was on the phone, fighting to save everything he had built. Tesla Motors stood hours from bankruptcy. The company needed emergency funding to make payroll. And Musk was calling investors on Christmas Eve, begging them to wire money before the banks closed for the holiday. Meanwhile, SpaceX had just failed its third consecutive rocket launch. They had enough money for one more attempt. One. The global economy was in free fall. Lehman Brothers had collapsed. Credit markets were frozen, and Musk had invested nearly every dollar he had into two companies that the world had written off as impossible dreams. His own words capture the moment. Tesla, SpaceX, and Solar City, all three companies, were nearing extinction at the same time, and there wasn't much I could do about it. That Christmas Eve phone call worked. The funding came through. Tesla survived by hours, but to understand how one man ended up with everything riding on a Christmas Eve phone call, we need to go back to the beginning. Back to Pretoria, South Africa. Back to a boy who devoured books, coded obsessively, and dreamed of elsewhere. Elon Musk entered the world on June 28, 1971, in Pretoria, South Africa. His childhood was difficult by most accounts. A complicated relationship with his father, relentless bullying at school that once landed him in the hospital. But there was something else, an insatiable curiosity and an extraordinary capacity for focus. At age 12, in 1983, Musk taught himself to code and created a video game called Blastar. He sold it to a computer magazine for approximately $500. A 12-year-old, in 1983, selling software he wrote himself. At 17, Musk fled South Africa, partly to avoid mandatory military service under the apartheid regime, and partly because he believed the future was being built somewhere else. He landed in Canada with little more than a connection to distant relatives who would take him in. He worked on a farm. He cleaned boilers. He transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, then won admission to Stanford for a physics PhD. He dropped out after 2 days. The year was 1995. The internet was exploding. Physics could wait. What followed was a crash course in building companies. Musk and his brother Kimball created Zip2, a city guide platform for newspapers. It was crude, but it worked. In February 1999, Compaq acquired Zip2 for $307 million. Musk's 7% stake was worth $22 million. He was 27 years old. He could have stopped. Instead, he founded XCOM, an online bank, investing $12 million of his own money. XCOM merged with a competitor called Confinity, which had a product called PayPal and a board member named Peter Thiel. The merger was brutal. Musk was ousted as CEO while on his honeymoon. But PayPal thrived. In October 2002, eBay acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion. Musk's 11.7% stake was worth approximately $180 million. He was 31 years old. He could have stopped. Here is what he did instead. In his own words, "My proceeds from the PayPal acquisition were $180 million. I put $100 million in SpaceX, $70 million in Tesla, and $10 million in Solar City. I had to borrow money for rent. Most people who make $180 million before 30 buy islands. Musk bought problems. Specifically, two problems that everyone agreed were unsolvable: rockets and electric cars, simultaneously. In May 2002, Musk founded SpaceX with $100 million of his own money and a question that the aerospace industry found laughable. What if we built rockets from scratch, cheaper than anyone has ever done before? The experts had a clear answer. Impossible. Rockets cost billions. They require government contracts. They fail constantly. Established aerospace companies had spent decades building institutional knowledge. A startup with 20 employees in a warehouse had no chance. But Musk approached the problem differently. He asked a question that sounds simple but changes everything. What is the actual cost of the materials in a rocket? This is first principles thinking. Instead of accepting that rockets cost what the industry charges, Musk broke the problem down to its fundamental components: aluminum, carbon fiber, titanium, fuel. His analysis revealed something remarkable. The actual cost of the materials was about 2% of the typical price. 98% was markup, inefficiency, and institutional overhead. What if you designed for manufacturability? What if you built the components yourself instead of buying from contractors? What if, against all aerospace doctrine, you made the rockets reusable? SpaceX started building, and then SpaceX started failing. March 24, 2006. The first Falcon 1 launch fails 33 seconds after liftoff. A fuel line leak. March 21st, 2007. The second launch fails. Roll oscillation tears the rocket apart. August 3rd, 2008. The third launch fails. A stage separation collision. The rocket carrying their hopes plunges into the Pacific Ocean. SpaceX has money for one more attempt. 1. September 28, 2008. The fourth Falcon 1 sits on the launch pad at Kwajalein Atoll. If this fails, SpaceX is finished. The countdown reaches 0. The rocket lifts off. First stage separation, successful. Second stage ignition, successful. Orbit achieved. Falcon 1 becomes the first privately developed liquid fuel rocket to reach Earth orbit. 3 months later, on December 23, 2008, NASA awards SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract for 12 cargo missions to the International Space Station. The impossible company survives. The cost reduction was not theoretical. Before SpaceX, the cost to launch 1 kilogram to orbit was $54,500. SpaceX brought that down to $2,720. A 95% reduction. According to NASA's own analysis, SpaceX didn't just compete with the aerospace industry, they rewrote the economics of space. While SpaceX was learning to land rockets, Musk was fighting another war entirely. In a Fremont, California factory, he was trying to prove that electric cars could be more than golf carts for environmentalists. An important clarification: Musk did not found Tesla. Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning incorporated Tesla Motors in 2003. Musk joined in February 2004, leading the Series A funding round with $6.5 million and becoming chairman. He took over as CEO in October 2008, after the board removed Eberhard during the financial crisis. What followed was a decade of near-death experiences. The Roadster delays. The 2008 financial crisis that nearly killed the company. The Model S launch that saved it. The Model X, with its overcomplicated Falcon wing doors. And then came the Model 3, the car that would prove whether electric vehicles could scale to mass production. In July 2017, Model 3 production began. Musk had promised to manufacture 5,000 cars per week. The reality was closer to 2,000 per week, and even that was a struggle. Musk called it production hell. And he meant it. He slept on the factory floor. He fired suppliers who couldn't meet deadlines. He personally rewrote production processes at 2 in the morning. One quality control station became so problematic that Musk eliminated it entirely and rebuilt the workflow from scratch. In his words, If you want to know what production hell is like, just come work at Tesla. And then, on August 7th, 2018, Musk sent a tweet that nearly destroyed everything. Am considering taking Tesla private at $420. Funding secured. 9 words. $36 billion in market value at stake. The problem? The funding was not secured. The Securities and Exchange Commission investigated. Their finding was unambiguous. Musk's funding was not in any way secured. The settlement? $20 million in fines for Musk personally, $20 million for Tesla, and Musk was forced to step down as chairman for 3 years. His tweets would require pre-approval by company lawyers, but Tesla survived. The Model 3 shipped at scale. In December 2020, Tesla was added to the S&P 500, the largest company ever added to the index. By 2024, Tesla was delivering 1.79 million vehicles annually. The electric vehicle revolution that the automotive industry said would take decades happened in years. And a government partnership made it possible. In June 2009, Tesla received a $465 million loan from the Department of Energy. They repaid it in full in May 2013, 9 years early, with interest. Government-enabled innovation, private execution, public benefit. By the early 2020s, something remarkable had happened. The impossible had become routine. SpaceX now controls over 90% of all mass launched to orbit globally. According to Bryce Tech's 2024 space industry analysis, no other entity, government or private, comes close. The Falcon 9 rocket has flown over 90 missions in a single year. That's roughly 2 launches per week. And the rockets land themselves, returning to Earth on their own propulsion to be refueled and flown again. On December 22, 2015, SpaceX landed an orbital rocket for the first time. The aerospace industry had said it was impossible. Now it happens so frequently that it barely makes the news. And then, on October 13, 2024, SpaceX achieved something that even science fiction had barely imagined. The Starship Super Heavy booster, the largest and most powerful rocket ever flown, returned from the edge of space and was caught by giant mechanical arms called chopsticks attached to the launch tower, the first orbital booster catch in history. Meanwhile, Starlink, SpaceX's satellite internet constellation, blankets the Earth with connectivity. Over 4 million subscribers across more than 100 countries. The service is now profitable. SpaceX's private valuation reached $350 billion in December 2024. Tesla produces millions of vehicles annually. The company's market capitalization fluctuates between $800 billion and $1.2 trillion, making it one of the most valuable companies on Earth. The method that made this possible has a pattern: vertical integration, build everything in-house rather than relying on suppliers. First principles: question every assumption, break problems down to fundamental physics. Rapid iteration, fail fast, learn faster, improve constantly. Musk has articulated his algorithm. Step 1, make the requirements less dumb. Step 2, delete the part or process. Step 3, simplify or optimize. The factory is the product, not just the car or the rocket. But here is the question that hangs over all of it. Does the method work without Musk personally driving it? Can these companies survive without their founder sleeping on the factory floor, firing people at 2 in the morning, demanding the impossible? And what happens when that same intensity turns towards something other than rockets and cars? And then there was Twitter. In April 2022, Musk disclosed that he had acquired a 9.2% stake in Twitter, making him the largest shareholder. Days later, he offered to buy the entire company for $44 billion at $54.20 per share. The Twitter board accepted. Then Musk tried to back out, citing concerns about bot accounts. Delaware courts scheduled a trial that Musk would likely lose, forcing him to complete the purchase. On October 27, 2022, Musk closed the acquisition and renamed the platform X. His first act was to fire the CEO, CFO, and general counsel for cause, avoiding their severance packages. What followed was the most destructive acquisition in modern technology history. Approximately 80% of Twitter's workforce was terminated. Some were fired. Many quit. Entire teams vanished overnight. Advertising revenue collapsed between 50 and 60% from pre-acquisition levels as major brands fled the platform. Internal valuations cratered. Fidelity, which held Twitter shares in its mutual funds, marked down the value of its stake repeatedly. The company Musk bought for $44 billion was valued internally at approximately $19 billion just months later. $25 billion in value, destroyed. In July 2023, Musk rebranded Twitter to X, removing the iconic bluebird logo that had become synonymous with the platform. His stated rationale? "I don't care about the economics at all. This is a decision I made about what was morally correct." He claimed free speech motivations. Critics pointed to the amplification of conspiracy theories, the reinstatement of banned accounts, and the erosion of content moderation. Here is the contradiction that cannot be explained away. The genius who builds rockets also amplifies conspiracy theories. The visionary who accelerated electric vehicles also spreads misinformation. The entrepreneur who created extraordinary value at SpaceX and Tesla destroyed it capriciously at Twitter. This is not hypocrisy to be reconciled. This is the same person. The same traits that enable extraordinary achievement, the risk tolerance, the disregard for convention, the absolute certainty in his own judgment, are the same traits that produce catastrophic decisions when applied without constraints. There is no version of Elon Musk who builds SpaceX but exercises restraint on Twitter. The features are connected. So, what does Elon Musk actually want? He has told us, repeatedly, in his own words. I think there is a strong humanitarian argument for making life multiplanetary in order to safeguard the existence of humanity in the event that something catastrophic were to happen. He believes, genuinely, that earthbound civilization is fragile, that asteroid impacts, nuclear war, or pandemic could end everything humanity has built, that Mars is the backup drive for the human species. Starship, the fully reusable rocket system that caught its own booster with mechanical arms, is designed to make Mars colonization possible. This is not marketing. This is the actual engineering goal. The vision is sincere, even if the visionary is erratic. And that brings us to the question that Musk forces us to ask. What do we do with extraordinary people who produce extraordinary results through methods that are also extraordinarily destructive? History offers no clean answers. It is full of complicated figures who changed everything and damaged much along the way. Musk joins that tradition. Elon Musk built companies that changed what seemed possible. SpaceX made rockets land. Tesla made electric cars desirable. Starlink connected the disconnected. These are real achievements that will outlast any controversy. But he also demonstrated that the same traits that enable impossible achievements can make a person dangerous and destructive. The chaos at Twitter, the SEC settlements, the treatment of employees, the amplification of harmful content, these are also real. History will judge the balance. For now, the rockets land, the cars ship, and the man who bet on the future keeps making bets that no one else would dare and keeps winning often enough to make the chaos worthwhile. At least, that's the bet he's making.